Well, we talk about, if you want to be successful, just two basic things, you got to refuse to be average, and then you got to overcome adversity, because there's going to be some train wrecks or derailments, whatever, and storms, and you just got to fight through them.
Bobby Howard, I know you're here somewhere. It started with you. You made me grow up in a hurry. Your no-nonsense approach to the game was needed at an early age. Winning was the only option. You preached that, and you made me work for it. Playing for you set my foundation for life. Love you, and I thank you.
Well, he's back, folks. Hall of Fame coach Bobby Howard is returning to the game of baseball.
A local baseball coach achieved a milestone that many coaches don't even come close to achieving. After 40 years of hard work and labor, St. Anne Pacelli Catholic High School baseball coach Bobby Howard reached his 1,000th win today.
There's a lot more to Coach Howard than people realize. I mean, he's helped a lot of people. He's probably helped over 1,500 men either get to college or, become better men in the community. And matter of fact, he's helped me to become a better coach. So, to be honest, I was a junior college coach prior to coming to Columbus High, but, I've learned more from that man in probably the last 10 years than some coaches.
Yeah, well, let me ask you a couple things though. How'd you get started in baseball? When did you start playing young?
I didn't start that young, as compared to how kids are now. My first organized game was when I was 10.
Uh-huh.
Now you got kids at 5 and 6 and things like this. But yeah, it was 10, and it was a crazy story. A lot of people, don't know this, but I went to one tryout, okay,
right.
at Northern Little League, and I didn't go back because I was a little bit intimidated and scared.
Uh-huh.
And so everybody in my neighborhood, though, got on teams and everything, so I was kind of jealous. So I went to a kid down the street. His name was Ricky Jones, and I said, could I go to practice with you since you're on the team and just see what I can do, whatever. So the coach liked me, and thought I had a little bit of potential. And so we went to, they had a board meeting that night, and then he brought my name up and said that, I didn't come to one tryout, but could he take me? And so I made such a great impression. Nobody knew who I was.
Uh-huh.
And so first game we had, I went 4 for 4 with 3 doubles and drove in about 7 or 8 runs and had a couple unassisted double plays, and everybody was, irate.
Yeah.
They thought that he had hit and was trying to.
Yeah, he got him a ringer.
He did, and then they had an investigation, whatever, brought it up. But anyway, I think he had to give away X amount. Back then, you had X amount of points, and so. Anyway, but that was my story, how I got started. But my first game was so good that I fell in love with it then.
Wow. Yeah, so that win carried you from then on.
It did. And I love playing all the other sports. But I was blessed with a little bit of ability, but grew up in a neighborhood where athletics was big. And then I had some, outstanding, youth coaches and high school coaches, college. So, there's a lot of fingerprints on my career, though.
Right. And your parents also were big supporters.
Yeah, they were.
I know your mom, I had a part in her funeral.
Yes, she was.
All I heard
my
was,
dad was athletic in the Army and things like that. And, he built us kind of a miniature baseball field right behind, where I lived. And we even had a little league practice there one day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we brought the team over, and he was proud of that accomplishment. But, he had a strong desire for baseball. Didn't know a lot about football or basketball, but I had a lot of direction when I was young.
Now, did you ever see yourself as a coach, or did you see yourself as a player coming up?
Well, just like anybody else, I wanted to be a player forever.
Yeah.
And then I got in a situation. I had a good college career, and made some all conferences or whatever. But the main thing is that everybody reaches that point that the uniform gets taken away from you, and either you're going to be a paid professional and make a lot of money, or you got to go into something else. And I went into coaching.
Yeah, and your coaching has been amazing. That's a record. I want to talk about that for a second, then we'll dive into it. But How many wins first of all, how many state championships have you had?
Well, you know, it's kind of a loaded question. You know,
Uh-huh.
the thing is, I've been blessed, you know, but those teams won the championships. You know, I was part of the leadership aspect, but, you know, I didn't throw the first pitch but, you know, swing the first bat. But,
Yeah,
you know, looking back on my career, I think, though, the teams that I've had, we won 12 high school state championships. I won one junior college the only year I was the head coach at junior
Yeah.
college. So, and that was a great conference we had. They had
Yeah.
North Georgia, Tommy Cantrell, Greg Appleton at Columbus State was in that conference, and the team I had at Middle Georgia won it. And so that's I'm proud of that aspect too, because there were so many other great coaches in that conference. But I think we've been runner-up 7 times. So.
Wow. Yeah, and that number of state championships, 12 of those for high schoolers, that's very impressive. And
well, I've been blessed. We had, the thing is that, at Columbus and even when I was at Kendrick, I had great support. And but I was blessed and with some good players and outstanding people more than anything else. You can have good players and, you can have the Peak and Valley championships, but our consistency of our program was not only outstanding players, but better people, parents included.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that too, though, Bobby. And you're the quickest I know. The light won't get on you long before you point at everybody else. I'll say, give me that info, and well, they were great players. You're just the best at giving the right credit. But the fact is on one side, most of those parents put those kids with you because they saw the leader you were, and they wanted their kids to have a great opportunity. And then you did get some of the quality. I remember probably one of the biggest ones was Frank Thomas.
Right.
Now, when he came, did he come as a freshman?
No, I was at Kendrick and I got recruited. We had won 2 straight region championships and then the state playoffs. Back then, only one team went. So Columbus High had an opening, and Bob Nuttams, the coach, called me about it. So I came over, and Frank was a sophomore my first year, so he was not a freshman. So, and people don't realize, I even asked Frank about his freshman career, and he said, even if somebody's talented as he is, he said, I didn't go out. I didn't think I could make it as a freshman, so I didn't want the rejection aspect. So he didn't even go out because he was kind of intimidated and scared. But anyway, he came out and wound up hitting 4th for us as a freshman and we won the state championship the first year I was there.
Wow. I remember when he was inducted in the Hall of Fame, I saw him give you credit that, my high school baseball coach, Bobby Howard, and I know there's been a relationship there, but the techniques and all those kind of things you taught him, obviously were the right ones because he could use them as he went on in life.
Yeah.
Was that a lot of it? If you find the players that had the technique and a passion, if you can sharpen those things, what do you look for if you say, here's a person that this one can be a good player, this one can be great? Is there any way that you can discern that on the front end?
The predictability factor is so limited because the game is so hard. You can see a lot of skills, but at every level their challenge is so greater that you never know if they may burn out. The old Peter Press, everybody rises to their level of incompetence, and so some of them get stuck, and some of them get tired of the process or the competition as they get older. It's a grind, a long, hard grind. And then you get somebody like Frank that got better at every level. And there's a few of those. We've had, I just had one kid this past summer, Jordan Weems, got picked up by Oakland. So that was the 5th kid that I had coached and made it to the big leagues. And, you try not to... you just try not to screw them up.
Yeah,
I mean, they're so gifted, athletically, but like we talked about before, you got to have all the attributes at that level. I mean, the attitude, the work ethic, the toughness, the durability, the luck factor of staying healthy. But those guys, like I said, you just try to stay out of their way, and just resource them, and they appreciate when you do challenge. I mean, even though they're your best players, you got to coach them too. You got to challenge them because they'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And, but Frank, I'm getting back to him. He called me, which I thought was real neat. He called me about 3 or 4 months ago when the White Sox job came open, and And he said, "What do you think?" He said, "I want to get your opinion or whatever." He says, "The manager job. I'm thinking about this, whatever." And I don't think he went through it because I think they were already. He didn't know it at the time. They were already recruiting. Tony La Russa,
right?
The Hall of Fame guy. They were talking him back, and he has some relationships with. In Chicago, because he had managed there before.
Yeah.
But he said that I value your opinion, and it was neat that he reached out. And we talked about it, and he said, "I'm going to call you back." And then he called me back and said, "Well, I think it's a done deal with La Russa already, but I'll keep you posted."
Yeah. But see, that's a great. You build relationships with these guys, and that's what real winners. That they do that. They have that way that John Wooden said about basketball. He said, when you score, always when you turn around, point at the guy that passed you the ball because he helped set you up. And the question was, well, what if he's not looking? He said he'll always be looking.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
Yeah, and it reminds me too that that's what the winners do. They always have a way of pointing back, like if Frank will point back at you, you'll point over at him, and it's a way of giving credit because that's what a team does. But you bring out the best in each other, and.
Right. Well, he's been good to my family, and I know they got some naysayers, just like they do with me, but I just know how Frank's treated me and my family, and we love them and his family, and the same. Yeah, I think he feels the same about us.
Well, I've always, and this is the part I know about you, Bobby. I've known this because when I'm out in other places, I'll go speak somewhere. And if somebody finds out that I was from Columbus, Georgia, if they're a baseball player, particularly if they're a coach, they will approach me and say, "Do you know Bobby Howard?" And I'm always proud to say, "Oh yeah, one of my best friends." And the reputation you have is just like the Bear Bryant. I can take my team, beat your team. I can take your team, beat my team. You really have so much between the ears that you bring, and there's a part of that. How much of that do you attribute to it's mental to winning? Obviously you got to have the physical, but how much of it is a different level?
Well, I think, the experience factor, that one commercial, I think it's Insurance Farmers or something, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, the experience factor is huge. But, I still feel like that, like me and you have talked before, I still have a student mindset toward the game because, with this COVID thing, everything's flipped and changed, and it helps that I've got a son that is played professionally and is a scout now professionally. So just last week he had me on a couple of Zoom calls that I never would have been affiliated with, but and so it was good stuff with it that that the Royals were sending out there, and they had interviewed George Brett and Chipper Jones and brought them in to talk. So, the people that were talking was talking about those interviews and how Brett and Jones had shared their philosophy. And but it was the national pitching guy they had and a national hitting guy, and but getting back to him, at his age, 30, he hadn't been away from playing. So I remember I got a good friend, Bobby Miranda, used to be at Georgia Tech, now he's at Western Carolina. And he says, always lean on your son because he's not away from the game, and he hadn't forgotten how hard it is.
Yeah.
He said, because sometimes we get away as we get older, and we forget about the daily grind and the daily pressures. And he says, always lean on him because, anytime you can get those young kids that just got out of the game professionally, they know how hard it is. Yeah. So they can be a lot more sensitive, a lot more empathetic toward the player's needs.
And your son, honestly, Will, you did a great job with the kids. Will,
I've been blessed.
Well, he's that boy that respectful, has character, just got a head on his shoulder, a good athlete, really good athlete. I'm glad he's working with the Royals, but he, I know that it was hard on him in a way locally because he's under your shadow.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's expecting Will to be just exactly like his dad, and that's, that they do the same thing with my own son. He's stepping in my role.
Yeah, sure. And that's a great analogy with Brent, and then you, and then, I mean, when Will would come into games, whether it be basketball, baseball, they'd be chanting "Daddy's boy," whatever, So he had a microscope just like Brent does.
Yeah, and he has to wear his own shoes. He can't step into yours. Who you are in his life anyway is going to come out.
No doubt.
But he's had that to be able to learn wisely from. but at the same time, he's going to have his own way. And
Right.
but he's done good.
Now, that was part one of Bill's conversation with 12-time state championship winning high school baseball coach Bobby Howard. And if you would like to see part two, make sure you stay tuned for it coming out next week. And if you don't want to miss it, make sure you go to our BP Leadership Podcast channel on YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you will get alerted whenever that podcast airs. And if you're watching this after it's all already come out, be sure to go to our channel and click part two of this podcast. You do not want to miss it. So glad you guys are tuning in, and as always, remember that this is where real leaders are made.